All right, we are recording. Well, thank you very much for joining us today. Today, I'm going to go over a little bit about knowing your value, and especially what happens sometimes uh, when the economy and things change financially for a lot of people. Sometimes they start asking for discounts on commission. They start discounting your value as an agent and what you do. So today I'm going to give you some ideas on what things you should be saying and what you should be feeling about your services and keeping your value there during, even though when customers need you the most and you have to do the most work and the most things that you have to do as an agent to keep the transactions together and keep the deals going. Also, usually those are times in the economy and with people's lives that they start asking for discounting your value. So kind of going to go over that about commissions and what to say when people ask you about your fees and your structure on that. So I'm going to start sharing my screen right now. Here we go. And we'll start here. Okay, day 14. And here we go. First is the motivation of the day. So I wanted to, again, talk about value. So I wanted to find a good motivational quote about value. So if you don't know your own value, someone will tell you your value and it'll be less than your worth. So being in real estate for 28 years, I've been through so many listing presentations and with agents and going over their value and what they do for clients. And I could always tell the agents that are always feel uncomfortable with their own value and what they do are the agents that really feel that they need to discount their services to get the business. And I try so hard every day when I talk to agents and explaining their value. So today I want to give you ideas on how to keep your value, the things that you should be thinking of and going into a listing presentation and what to do. So that's the motivation of the day. But first we'll start with something to post. So something to post today with children stuck inside, parents figuring out what to do with their kids after day. I don't even know what day it is under quarantine, but I know it's easing up soon, but a lot of people were going to be still staying in the house because a lot of kids' activities are canceled. School is not continuing, camps, sporting things for children. So there's going to be a lot more things going on with kids. So if you have a lot of sphere of that of kids, grandkids, or whatever, these are the types of posts that you should do to communicate with them, connect with them, showing that you're thinking about those things too. So this is a link to a New York Times article about other books of kids stuck inside. And it was really cool when I was going through these books. I was like, wow, most of the books on there read to my kids. Well, now that they're 19 and 20, I don't think they want me to read those books to them. But but it was kind of going down memory lane a little bit there with some of these books. So here's a good post. Take a screenshot of it. Write this down. Also will be on my Facebook and email to all of our agents too. Tomorrow I'm going to email the whole week to everybody. So you have that. So again, if this doesn't connect with you, try to find something similar to it. A couple days ago, last week, we had a book club idea. So this is something that kind of goes along with that too. All right, to think about your value. So today, something to think about: objections and commissions. Sellers who are wary of the market and or their financial strength use that fear as an excuse to ask for lower commission. Own this objection by highlighting your value and expertise. So I won't go into exact dollar amounts of commissions, but you have to know your value, what you're going to be charging for your services, and make sure that you have a good value proposition for that. So think about your value. You're going to be working on your value and all the things that your office and your company and your brand give value in giving a seller. So you have to make sure that you have all of this in your head, written down in a listing presentation, ready at a moment's notice to defend what you're charging. Because if you don't believe it, you're not going to have the client believe that that's your value of what you are charging. So we're going to go through a few things. Something you can do, and I'm going to go over some steps, is update your listing presentation. We kind of went over listing presentations a few days ago, but update it. Make sure you understand it. Make sure all the tools and the websites. I know with Century 21, we have our listing presentation could be 80 plus pages of all the different social media and the websites and the property websites and the videos and all of the many things that we can do for our listings and our exposure and marketing wise. Make sure you understand all of those and that there's a value to every single one of those things. Meet with your broker or office or any agents that are not with Century 21 watching this. Obviously, reach out to your broker, reach out to your manager, reach out to your brand, and find out all the values, because things change. We have things that are new in our listing presentations just over the last 12 months that Century 21 added on the websites and on the different things we do. Our MLS adds new things, like there's a new virtual open house with the MLS. That you could do open houses now virtually, link them so people could see those on the MLS. So there's always different things that are coming new with technology. So make sure you're up to date on all those and you're putting them in your listing presentation. Also, see what your competition is doing, because consumers are seeing this. So even if they're, I like to refer to those, you think those slam dunk listings, like it's your best friend, your relative, your sister-in-law, your brother-in-law, whoever, your next door neighbor, you feel that they call you, they're going to list your house with you. I've seen it so many times, agents go into a slam dunk listing appointment, not prepared with everything, because they think they just got it. It's in their pocket. They're going to list with them. They don't have to give them the whole spiel, the whole presentation. But you got to remember, a lot of times those people in your lives that are giving you these listings are thinking about all of these things because they hear from other friends and family members that don't know you. Like, my agent over here does this. My agent over there does that. I heard this. I heard that. Have we all in real estate have had that client that had that mysterious person in the background of their lives that used to be a realtor at one time and says, your realtor should be doing this? So you really should, every listing you get, no matter what, have a presentation and explain and resell them on why they're using you, and have all of this. Because in the past, many years ago, when I was selling myself personally, I would get into those traps. I was like, I'm just going to go and bring the listing documents and sign those listing documents with my friend, close friend, relative. I don't need to spend the time to tell them everything. But you remember, they're running into friends, they're running into things, and it kind of makes you look bad in a way when they run into someone, says, oh, your house is for sale. Oh, I had my house for sale, or my neighbor's a realtor and they do this. Does your realtor do that? And they say, I don't know. They didn't really go over what they do for me. So again, always make sure you have your listing presentation. You're giving it to everybody, even if you think it's not worth it to go through that time. Again, see what your competition is doing. A lot of other realtors on their personal websites are right there showing them their listing presentation, which is fine. It's open, out in the open, but at least see what other people are doing. Are they doing virtual tours? Are they doing open houses? Are they paying for any extra advertising, postcards, mailers, door knocking? So remember, other realtors are your competition. I mean, they might not be exact competition, like you're going up against listing and they're going to be the other agent, but you can at least see what they're doing, and you might pick up an idea like, wow, they're saying they do this. I'll give you, again, examples. Virtual tours are big. I know there's sellers out there, if you, and usually in certain price categories, if you go in there and you say, I don't do virtual tours, and they see another another agent company doing virtual tours on all of their listings, they might go, I'm going to list with that person. Or so they might be stuck on open houses. And if you walk in and go, hey, I don't do any open houses, and for some reason they're stuck on open houses. That's another thing a lot of agents do when going up against other agents on listing appointments. They will tell the sellers all of the things that they're going to do because they know other agents probably don't do them. And that's when they win the listing. So open houses. I've had so many agents in the past in our office, other offices say, I don't do open houses, a waste of my time. But that seller doesn't care. They want their house sold. They want if they want open houses, another agent might be coming in. We're going to do virtual open houses, every other weekend or once a month or whenever. They might say that we do virtual tours. We do door knocking when we have an open house. There's agents out there that will canvass a neighborhood, inviting them to the open house and inviting them friends and family to that open house. Again, you could still do the same thing virtually. So go onto other agents' websites. You could go onto, the named agents in the area. You better, I'm just saying, if you are going on a listing appointment to talk to someone and you see another sign in another neighbor's yard down the street of an agent there, you better look at that agent, because guess what? That seller, your seller's driving by that agent's sign every day, and probably it's a good chance that if for some reason the listing doesn't sell or they're not getting the activity there, that might be a person they're calling. So check out that agent's website, see what they do. Again, I know we're all friends out there as realtors, which we all are, but we're also competitors with each other. We're our own businesses. I know in the past I've lost listings to friends of mine that are in real estate, and I've got listings in the past from agents that that I'm friends with too. So, but make sure the competition. And then practice your listing presentation on your family, your friends. You have to practice it. You can't, so if you're not going on listing presentations yourself, just totally cold, the people you don't know them, they're a referral from a referral from a referral. If you're doing that, if you're not doing that consistently, you got to practice somehow, because you can't just fumble across it. And now with a lot of virtual ones, you can practice virtually. If you have two laptops at home, get your spouse or your family member or a friend, or even call someone else. Hey, I'm practicing my listing presentation. It could be a colleague, another agent, could be your broker, your manager. Let me practice my listing presentation on my Zoom, sharing my screen, all of that. You got to practice this so you're not fumbling through it. And I know as newer agents or agents that are just getting their business back up and running, or you just might not have had a listing for a while. We have some agents that just love buyers. They just love buyers because their buyers are a little bit easier to get to. They're a little less stressful. And then when they get listings, they're like, oh, I don't even know where to start. So practice before you go out on a listing appointment with somebody, and it's practice as much often as you can on that. Something you could say, and we're going to go over a little bit about objections and commissions. So I'll start with a little script on here. So would you list your house, would you list the house for X commission instead? So I'm just jumping to the end of a kind of a conversation you're having with a seller at your end of your listing presentation. Can you list it for this? Because they want to save money. They want to help their family. They want to do whatever they can to make themselves better financially. So I never think poorly of a client asking for a lower commission or a break. We all do it in any other aspect. When we buy a car, we try to get the lowest price. When we go do things and we know there's wiggle room in there, that sometimes we do that as a people. So I don't think poorly of it, but be ready for it. So here's an example of a response that you can use. I know that we are all impacted by this unfortunate situation. I'm talking about kind of what's going on now. And that's why I'm here to support you through every step of this journey. I want to make sure you get the most amount of money for your house. But what's most important is paying paying less commission or netting the most money for the sale of your home. If an agent is willing to cut their commission just like that, how do you think they will perform when it comes to negotiating on your behalf? My commission is directly tied to the services I provide. I have the tools, network, and expertise to get your home sold quickly and for the most money. If it is because times are tough that I am prepared to go above and beyond to negotiate on your behalf. I could not cut my commission because I never offer you less than my best. So this is kind of something that you got to think about, read, make it your own. Don't say line for line, but basically what is that saying? Basically that is saying is that you have to explain that your cost, your commission is for all of the things that you're doing that are in your listing presentation, and to give them the best service possible. I very much love explaining that last line is how am I going to negotiate? If I can't negotiate with you, and Mr. Seller, explaining why my services are at this value, how would you feel if I'm going to negotiate the value of your house to the buyer's agent and the buyer saying, because my goal is to get you the best value for your home that the market will show, and how am I, if I can't negotiate that and explain that, how am I going to explain that to you? So that's something you've got to really feel comfortable saying, explaining that, feeling the confidence that you are showing them that everything in this listing presentation has value. They so many times, again, they don't do this every day. I'm saying they as in sellers, buyers. They don't do this every day. Again, let me say, be a disclaimer here, because this is my total opinion. And I'm saying this as my total opinion on there, because there might be people that are not realtors watching this video someday, is that we all know, us realtors know, that ultimately they need us. We know that. How many transactions you go through that you're like, OMG, if this buyer and seller tried to do this on their own, would be a mess. The emotions of the buyer, the emotions of the seller, putting everything together, the transaction, the paperwork, organizing the time, when there's problems, this is not fixed. There's a laundry list of things that the seller has to fix because the buyer wanted on the property disclosure after the home inspection, and you had to make sure they're all done, and then they're not. And as listing agents, you sometimes have to go there to verify they're done by all the plumbers and the electricians and all that. And then you get there and they're not done. And then you got to call the seller and you got to make sure that is there. And then the buyer's agent. So these are all things that in our listing presentation, we rarely explain that part of the process to the sellers, that these things might happen. So many times I've seen sellers think that our job is just what's in our listing presentation. They don't see the rest. So I've yet to perfect, I'm not saying I'm perfect in everything in real estate, but I've yet to perfect what happens afterwards and all the things that, without scaring a seller, of all of the things that we have to work on after the transaction is written. So I coach agents to kind of say things to sellers when they question value. Now this, I would say, the one thing you say, see this big stack of listing presentation I showed you, all of these things that are here, this might be, when this is all over, about 10% of what I do. So if you don't even think that this is value and what I'm charging for commission wise, we haven't even opened up the book on what's going to happen with the rest of the transaction. That could be 90% or more of the work is in a whole nother chapter of this book, and that's after this contract is signed. So you as an agent could feel figure out what kind of things you're comfortable in saying to people, because I give stories all day long to agents every day. I tell them this story because I love that. And I know a lot of you are on here watching this too, but you'll tell me a story about how bad this transaction might be going. I'll tell you a worse story, and to make you feel better and to show you and also coach you to show your seller it's not the end of the world. Like, I get this all the time. I have sellers like, oh my God, they're not closing. They're going to be 3 days late. Okay, well, I had one close about 2 months late, about 2 weeks ago. Is that better? I'll give you that story to tell your sellers that, well, it's a bad situation. Things, I'm sorry, the last minute, the buyer, their funds, something couldn't close, mortgage company, title company. We have one now where seller has a cloud on the title. He had no idea it was there. It's going to close like 2 weeks late, and everybody's upset. But that, to me, is not bad compared to other things that could happen. So the point I'm making is that you have to, in your value, come up with something on your own, talk to your broker, manager, of things that you're ready to say, that all of the work you're going to do afterwards without scaring them in situations that are going to happen. You could actually put things, they're already in your, hopefully in your listing presentation, of all the things you're going to follow up with when you're going to follow up with the buyer's agent, every few days or weeks. Track make sure the buyer's loan's approved, make sure the title work is ordered, make sure that inspection happens. Are you going to be there to open up the door when the inspector comes? Are you going to be there to open up the door when the appraiser comes? Or who's going to be there? Are you going to work with the buyer's agent? All those things you could put step by step of what's going to happen, but you could tell them, some stories of where your value really mattered, and obviously not blame it on the seller like they're going to do anything wrong, but there's things that we're going to have to watch for this buyer. We don't know. We hope your house sells very quickly, and we're going to, at the best the market could show, and I got to be on top of it, pre-approve that agent and buyer to make sure they're on top of things and watch what they're doing and make sure they're a good buyer and make sure their financing is going right and all the things you're going to do. But explain to them different situations that could happen where you're going to spend hours of your time making sure the transaction is on track and moving smoothly, and all the things that you're going to alleviate that they have to do. So again, the bottom line of what I was saying is trying to figure out what you could say to sellers when they question that listing presentation is all you do, and then have those stories. Again, let me jump back here. I'm not saying that you have to say this right up front, but if they question your value, they question your how much work you're going to do, if they question lowering the commission, that's maybe when you could feel comfortable, sit down. Well, let me explain situations that could happen, that I'm going to be here ready, waiting, and prepared to handle anything that comes in situations there. And if you're comfortable with those people, tell them a story. I could give you 1,000,001 stories if you want some. And you could say, let me tell you about this transaction my office had last year. Let me tell you about this. Let me tell you about that, of situations that happened because the buyers came in and things happened. If you need things like that to show how much work could have to happen to keep transactions together, again, use them, get those stories ready in your head somehow, or ask your office or someone else. Every agent has a story of a transaction where they had to work 100 times harder on one transaction than another. So that's it for today. Hopefully that gives you some ideas on, let me start there, on value. But the bottom line is, make sure when you go into every listing presentation, you have that confidence that your value is there. You're not wavering on your value. You know your value, just like that motivational quote. You show your value and you have to stand by it. And if you don't believe your value to the core, someone else is going to tell you your value and you're just going to accept it. And then that's when you lower your commissions, lower your fees, and then that is a slippery slope, and that just keeps on going. And I know some of the agents out there have had that happen to them. All of a sudden, you give a little bit to help out, and next thing you're giving even more and even more and even more of your time and money. And remember, you're doing this for you. None of us. And the other thing, the last thing I'll say, I don't think anybody watching this and right now, is anybody a billionaire? Is anybody retired? Is everybody in a mansion or driving a fancy car? Everybody have enough retirement money to just walk out and do nothing? I don't think any of us are that way. So we do this for ourselves. We're not like just putting just a little more commission on my big pile of money somewhere. You're doing this to survive yourself, your family. This is your business. This is what you do for a living, to support and help your family and yourself. And you're not so, I tell this to agents several times a week, that your value is there. This is what you charge. You're not overcharging people. No matter what they say, you're not overcharging them. You're showing them your value, what you're charge them. And if they don't like it, they have other options, and they could find someone else that can do that. So I know I've seen it happen so many times where agents walked out of a house or after talking to someone thinking that they're not going to go with them because they stuck to their guns with their commission, and then they're calling them back and say, I'm going to list with you. So you never know that they're just testing you to see if you will give a little bit. Just because they asked you to lower commission doesn't mean they're not going to use you because you said no on that. So again, I didn't go into any specifics on price and values and dollar amounts, but if you like, you're welcome to call me, to use me as a resource. Call me and connect with me. We'll do one-on-ones. We'll do listing presentations. I love going through listing presentations because I don't sell personally anymore, don't have time to, as many of you already know that. So I get to live through you a little bit and do the listing presentations one-on-one. I like doing that a lot. So if you need anything, remember, give me a call. Thank you very much for joining us today. Have a great day. We'll see you tomorrow. And then we have one more week of this program, and we'll start a new one then. So have a good day, everyone. See you soon. Bye-bye.